Welcome back. So as that little video explained, we get to turn up in the world either functioning consciously, which for most of us typically is only 5% of the time, and primarily subconsciously. And so the sorts of things where that would be demonstrated in life is, for example, driving a car. If you remember the amount of conscious effort that was required to learn how to drive a car, to the point at which once those neural pathways, those nerve pathways around driving were well established in the brain, you then had the ability then to hop in a car and subconsciously drive a car. And of course what that means is, yes, you put the key in and you turn it on and you might have to engage the clutch or the brake or do whatever you have to do, put it into gear, turn the steering wheel and drive. Well, once upon a time you had to think about every single element of that, but because you've now developed an autopilot around that, a habitual behaviour, the neural pathways in your brain have become so well established that you don't have to concentrate on any of that. You're able to hop in the car and drive. So that's what we're talking about in terms of the difference between being consciously aware and subconsciously aware. Now, the interesting thing about how we turn up subconsciously is that, once again, research has shown that about 2/3 of how we function subconsciously is not beneficial particularly, whereas 1/3 is very beneficial. So what we're doing in this activity is giving you an opportunity to explore the different forms of consciousness and how you get to experience it. And I want to share with you a little bit about my own way of engaging these. So let's have a look at number one, which is about the way in which you turn up consciously, making conscious decisions. So for me, just recently, as I've been reflecting on my life and the direction of my life and things that are going on, I've consciously made a decision to become much more focused on my business, the Centre for Western Mindfulness. I've written books and have teaching and speaking opportunities associated with those things that are sort of ancillary to this, but can become quite significant in terms of distractions. And so I've made a very conscious decision to become much more channeled and focused on the Centre for Western Mindfulness. And so what happens is I have to become very conscious of how I'm spending my time and resources. Number two is about beneficial subconscious decisions. And one of the beneficial subconscious things that I do, and I've done it long enough now that it sort of has become a subconscious behaviour, is that I prepare meals every few weeks and have sort of like a cooking day, and I choose meals that are highly nutritious and ones that I can freeze to make it easier for me to be able to have meals when I work late or in the middle of the day when I don't want to use the time every day cooking and washing up. And the subconscious element to this is that every 3 weeks I have this cooking routine that I go into around preparing food. In terms of subconscious non-beneficial behaviours, I mean, there's so many of those, it's not funny. Although I have to say that 5% that is typically conscious in my world is probably 30% now. And so in terms of these non-beneficial subconscious behaviours, they're becoming less and less. And so something that I do which is habitually not beneficial is not drinking enough water. I know that sounds funny, but if I was more aware, I would be making more effort to have water available to me throughout the day. So what I'd like to invite you to do is to spend a few minutes looking through each of those 3 questions. And once you've done that, we'll come back and we'll start to talk about the things that get in the way of us being able to be more aware.